feel all cozy and, fluffy. This is actually, I'm trying to empower you into action. That is my goal. My goal is to activate you more than motivate you, because motivate, it doesn't last very long. If you've noticed, you may have had New Year's resolutions January 1, and you may have noticed life already had a different agenda. You may have been thrown a couple of curveballs. Maybe your family got sick. Actually, to be honest with you, my house is a puke house right now. I was up all hours of the night with kids and I'm on 2 hours of sleep, but hey, I am still showing up here for you. And I can't imagine a better group of people to show up for. I just love you all so much. But I understand that life throws curveballs. So you've probably understood by now, okay, life's going to happen and it's going to continue to happen this year. And I want to encourage you to have a solid plan of action. So what we're going to constantly be touching back to is you taking action following this training, because I don't want you to just sit with a plan. A plan that is not acted on is just a wish. I want you to commit to taking action. Even if it's just one thing, before my head hits the pillow tonight, I will instill one of these actions that Kristen goes over in this training. So that is the whole goal, empowering you into action. So I want to talk a little bit about centering you back to why you're here. I want you to just take a minute and ask yourself, because I really want to recenter you on your why. You have your big why for why you started this business, why you decided to go all in with Pampered Chef. And I want to just bring you back front and center in this moment and ask yourself, why am I here at Empower? Why is it important that I'm here? And what am I hoping to gain? Because it's very easy to sign up for these things and be like, yeah, I'm a leader. I'm expected to be there. It's this thing. Yeah, we'll see what happens. But I want you to get centered on, but why is being here important to me? Why is it important I'm on this Zoom? Why is it important that I'm, taking time to watch this and learn and invest in myself? Why does this matter? Take a second right now, and I want you to write down why it matters to me that I'm here in this moment here at Empower. Just take a moment, because I'm going to constantly be drawing you back to that, and I want to really center you. It's really important to be grounded when we're in trainings like this, because hype is fun and I can be anybody's hype girl. But if I'm not hyping you into taking significant action, then what good is it, right? This is about activating you. So getting recentered, why is this important to me? So that you can hold this space for yourself in the training together. So I don't know where each individual person is with their business when they are coming on this Zoom. We could have some people that are like, I've never been more on fire for my business than I am now. And there might be some people that are like, I am on the precipice of burnout. I am on the precipice of or I just feel like I am standing upon the ashes of what once was. It's not like it was in 2020. It's not like it was back then. It's hard now. I don't know if I have the courage to rebuild it. And here's what I notice. If you resonated with Christy's story, what I notice is that people that go through a season of burnout, I notice there is a fear of re-engaging in their business, a fear of going back all in again and committing to their business again, because there is this fear of well, if I commit again, I don't want to burn out. I don't want to experience it the way I did. I'm tired. And we tend to think that's how business has to be, that it has to be a drag, that it has to be exhausting, that it has to be tiring, that it has to cost us our family, it has to cost us our personal time. And it doesn't. And it's also not either or. And I don't want you to hear Christy's story and think, okay, so my work for the next 6 months is just to work on my sleep and my exercise, and then I'll visit my Pampered Chef business again 6 months from now. No, my friends. It is not either or. It is both and. You can work on your healing and prioritizing yourself and shifting your priorities and working efficiently and sustainably, while you are also learning to work differently, learning to put boundaries on your time, learning to work smarter, learning and not necessarily harder. I still want you to work hard. Guess what? It's hard showing up. It's hard when you feel like nothing's happening. I loved the Chinese bamboo story, and I've actually used that story in several coachings elsewhere. And so I'm glad we talked about that story, because you have to understand that it wasn't just nothing was happening in those 5 years. There was a lot of grit and there was roots being put down. And so you have to be willing to be committed into like, yes, I'm willing to like put down new roots so that I can sustainably grow an organization that lasts 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. Like, it's not, I want you to be thinking about a business that you love 5 years from now, not a business you need to recover from. If you feel like you've needed to recover from your business, it's likely you have been brought some habits and some thinking into your business. And we can divorce the habits and the thinking that have been causing the burnout without divorcing the business. That's what I see people do. Sometimes they're like, well, I'm just going to take a step back from working the business because the business caused me burnout. That's actually not true. It's often who we are being in our business activity. It's the overworking. It's the lack of boundaries, lack of self-care while we're doing the work. And so I'm going to kind of walk you through some beliefs because I am going to help you get into, okay, well, what's the action plan? I'm going to give you very tangible tips for growing your business this year. And even if you're like, oh man, it is a season of rebuilding, you can decide to have drama about that right now. You can decide to be like, this is hopeless. I don't know if I have the energy to do it again. Or you can say, yeah, I'm in a season of rebuilding and I'm here for it. I'm rebuilding myself and I'm rebuilding my business and it matters and it's worth it. Like, we tend to romanticize going back into our business and think like, okay, I'm all ready. And we have this like romanticized idea of what we think rebuilding it will look like. It's like, it's all going to be rainbows and sunshine this time. No, it's still going to be hard because life is still going to happen. You're still going to get discouraged, but you have to decide why it's important to you to re-engage and rebuild and recommit. Maybe for you, this Empower event is really about you committing again and deciding, wow, I've actually, if I was to sit with myself, I don't think I've really committed to myself and my business in a while because I'm hurt, because I'm tired, or because I'm frustrated, or because I'm believing stories that like people don't want to do parties and nobody wants this and it once was like, and you can decide to unsubscribe from those stories and decide, today's the day I recommit. Today's the day where I decide, yeah, I'm all in. I'm all in for the hard. I'm in for the growth. I'm in for the pain. I'm in. I'm not just in for the good. I'm not just in for the incentives and the rewards and getting to Boston and getting to those trips. Like, yes, that's a great outcome, but why are you in for the process? Like, why is the process important for you to opt into? Everyone wants to opt into a reward, but are you willing to be somebody who opts into the process? And the process is where all of our growth is. That is where our opportunity to learn new things about ourselves, to overcome things, is presented in the process. And that's when I see people give up, because the process is painful. It's not sexy. It's not fast. It's not quick. It's not flashy. The process is gritty. It requires a lot of you. So I want you to decide, am I gritty today? And by the way, you can't be gritty unless you have resistance. Like, grit is only present when there is levels of resistance. So if you want to become a gritty person, and I heard a lot of you were saying that your word for the year was consistency. So what your word, like consistency, actually is persistence. That's what it is. Like, consistency is really the foundation of you being persistent. Like, I am going to do this no matter what. No matter what my metrics are saying on social media right now, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to do this no matter what my sales were this month. I'm committed to figuring it out and doing better sales next month. So we're going to talk about first how to kind of rewire some of these beliefs that actually is getting in the way of you getting to where you want to go, getting to that next level in your growth, having the business that I believe you want to have, because I believe you want a business that energizes you. That's where Christy is now. She was saying, like, I love my business now. I enjoy showing up to parties. I enjoy engaging with people. I enjoy connecting with people. If you aren't enjoying it, we have to reframe some things, because business does not have to feel like a drag. So something I'm always talking about is really the psychology of how our human psychology shows up in business. And this is in all areas of our life. But you have to, this is the formula I want you to deeply, deeply understand, is your beliefs, your way of thinking, the stories you tell yourself, how you see the world, your beliefs always determine your behaviors or your actions. So we could do this. As I'm like grabbing my Sharpie here. Another way of putting this is like, this is your thoughts. And this is your actions or your habits. Okay? So your thoughts determine your actions, and then your behaviors, your actions determine your results. So really, if we're to shortcut this, your beliefs determine your results. And there's evidence of that where if you're believing, let me give you a very tangible one that I hear from a lot of people in a in-home or a party-based business. People love to tell me, parties are dead. Nobody wants to host parties anymore. I'm like, that's not true. People don't want to host boring parties. People don't want to host lame parties. People don't want to host parties where it's a plug and play template where they feel like a bot could be doing that. It's not that. It's not that they don't want a party. Actually, in all of the research I've been doing with a lot of different companies, what I'm seeing across the board is that in-home parties are taking off again. Actually, there's higher sales rates at in-home parties right now than there are virtually because there's something about being in a room with people. There's something about touching the product. There's something about like seeing a demonstration. There's something about being in a room. Listen, we were all isolated for way too long. So people are longing for community, longing for connection. But if you're too busy believing parties are dead, and no one wants to host them anymore, and having a sob story because the last couple parties you hosted didn't pan out well, then like, of course you're not going to be hosting a party that people want to come to. And then you stay in this reinforced belief. So if you believe no one wants a party, your behaviors are, you don't host an in-home party, you don't create a lucrative party, you don't create an intentional, thoughtful, fun party. And then, so that behavior, okay, so if you don't throw a party, or you throw a lame party, I'm going to call it a lame party because if you are kind of showing up like, this is what I have to do, here's a template, everybody comment, share with me something you're excited about, what's a recipe you love? Like, people can tell if you don't like your own party. Like, if it's not a party you want to be at, then why would anybody else want to be at the party? Okay? Can you imagine like showing up to a party where the hostess is like, hey, come on in. Third party I'm hosting this week. I guess I'm glad you're here. I really hope you buy something. And while you're here, can you leave a comment? Like, no, nobody would buy from that. So even if you do end up hosting a party, the lame party gets lame results. So this is how we're constantly reinforcing our beliefs are always informing our behaviors. But this is where I see a lot of people, they just want to fix their behaviors first. This is where I see a lot of business owners do is they're like, okay, I'm ready to get consistent this year. I'm going to reach out to people. I'm going to host more parties. I'm going to lead my people. But we're only talking at the surface level. We're not actually addressing the beliefs that drive your behaviors. We're not addressing your thinking. We're not shifting your thoughts. Because anytime you modify a behavior without first addressing the belief, you end up defaulting to old behaviors.
Well, we're up to 20 parties a week.
You have to, it's important that you understand that. So people are like, okay, well, just give me all the strategy, and trust me, you're going to get strategy today. But unless you first understand that your thinking informs your results, no strategy is going to work. Because I can hand you this amazing magical template that's guaranteed to, boost your sales. And I would say, okay, so this is step 1, this is step 2, this is step 3, this is step 4. And if I hand it to you, you're still going to have a brain that's thinking, but what if I suck at this? But what if people judge me for this? What if no one wants to buy? What if this doesn't even work? Like, you have all these stories that interact with the strategy. And this is what keeps people from doing the strategy effectively, is because they have all the stories that's either inhibiting them from taking action in the strategy, or they do the strategy, but they do it with kind of a robot feeling, like, welcome to my party, so glad you're here. Like, yes, I'm checking it off the box. Yay, income producing activity. Yay, talked about my business. But like, you're not embodying that. You're not excited because your stories are like, do you want to join this business that burns me out? You too can be burnt out. Like, this is why we have to shift our beliefs before we even think about shifting our behaviors. And so I really want you to take a second here before I move on to ask yourself, what belief keeps popping up in my brain every time I go to do something for myself and for my business? People are going to judge me. I don't know who to talk to. I don't know how to do this social media thing. I can't tell you how often these 3 words.
I gave out a business card at the tattoo shop.
I don't know. Have stopped people from creating significant results in their life.
Because he wants an in-home
You don't
party.
know? This is going to sound sassy.
Do it.
Google it. You
If
don't
they
know,
contact
try
me, I
it.
will.
You don't
Do
know, experiment. You don't know, commit to figuring it out.
I'm
This is
tired
where I
of feeling-
see people say like, well, I don't know how to throw a good
It's so
party.
funny
I don't know
'cause
how to
someone's
lead. I'll be
throwing a
like, well,
party
try,
on the sixth.
figure
Sorry,
it
I'm
out.
talking-
You don't
I'll
know
make
how
this
unless you
make
try. You know, I was at this event where someone was interviewing this business owner, and it was at a very accomplished event where everyone in the room had at least $1 million business, and the person that was on stage was working to build a business that generated $100 million in a year. And someone came up to them on stage and said, hey, how do you plan on doing that? And she said, I'll tell you after I get there. I'm figuring it out. Like, how powerful is that? But how often are we stuck in like, yeah, but I need to know the how before I take the action, instead of the how becomes available to you in taking the action. The how reveals itself as you are implementing. But I see so many people being like, I don't know how. And they either stay stuck and being like, well, because I don't know how, I don't have to take the action. But instead, or it's like, I don't know how, and I'm going to research it to death until I find a how that somehow maybe makes sense. And then if I have all the steps that guarantee me a result, then I'll take the first step. And it's like, no, that's not how this works. The how becomes known as you take action, as you take bold action. So commit to divorcing this thought of, I don't know. It's like, I don't know who to talk to. It's like, I'm going to figure out who to talk to, but I'm also going to give you a shortcut for that today. If you're thinking about social media, because we're going to talk about how to have a sustainable business, a business that lasts for a long time, a business so you don't need to recover from, a business where you aren't, the primary workhorse of your paycheck. Listen, if 80% of your paycheck is you from your own personal parties, and you aren't teaching others how to have great personal parties, and if you are still like the primary workhorse for your paycheck, this tells me that's not sustainable. You have to actually be duplicating leadership. You actually have to be bringing people into your organization and teaching them how to have successful businesses. Like every one of you is here because you know how to have a business. You know how to do that. But now it's time for you to find other people who want a business and teach them how to do what you do. But it's really hard to teach them how to do what you do when you are busy hiding in your parties. When you are busy, and I'm not saying like, hey, cut all your parties out. I understand that's a great revenue generating activity. It's a great networking opportunity. But also you have to be, that is a warm market activity. You also have to be working on like, okay, and where is the next 100 leads coming from?
Worm. Mm-hmm.
You have to be thinking about long term. You have to be thinking about not just your next 30 days, not just your next 60 days, but like, ooh, okay, so 1 year from now in my business, I want you to ask yourself this question. And if it scares you, maybe that's a good thing because it's going to empower you to take action. I want you to ask yourself, 1 year from now, if I do not grow my network, what will happen in my business? And if you have not been somebody who's been networking, meeting new people, and growing your audience, that question is probably scaring you to death, because eventually you will hit saturation with your audience. You will hit market saturation. There's only so many kitchen pieces there's only so many frying pans that your friend will buy from you in a period of time, which means you have got to expand your network. That has to be priority number one. But the reason why I see people don't expanding their network is they sit with, I don't know, or nobody wants it. Like, again, their beliefs determine their behaviors. I want to specifically talk about the idea of like when we're in scarce behavior, when we have scarce thinking that creates scarce behaviors, and therefore you get scarce results. And I would say lack of growing your network, lack of talking to people. I'm going to give you a few examples of this. There's 3 primary areas of scarcity where I see people that inhibits people from really growing a thriving, sustainable business that lasts for a long time, because that's what you want. That's why you're here, right? Okay. The first one is their primary areas of scarcity is with their audience, meaning they're not growing their audience. They're talking to the same 500 people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let me give you an example.
Don't get that about events.
I see people come into this business
Mm-mm.
with their
Thank you for taking over.
500 to 1,000 friends they have on Facebook, and I see them keep the 500 to 1,000 friends, and they just market to the same people over and over and over, year after year after year after year, making the same ask year after year after year, never growing this audience. And so you end up becoming scarce with the audience, because then you start approaching the audience with need, being like, where are they? Why aren't they buying from me? What's going on with the parties? Where's the referrals? Like, eventually you do hit audience saturation. And if you aren't growing it, you start acting scarcely. You start messaging the same person over and over and over again. Like, hey, do you want to host? Do you want to host? Do you want to host? Like, that is when we're acting scarce. It's the same with your customer base. It's like when you have scarce behaviors with your customer base, that's when you're looking to the same pool of people to take your business to the next level. And that's actually just not possible. If you want to take your business to the next level, you actually need to think, I must extend the pool. That is the only possible way. And when you extend the pool, you're extending your network. You're getting more referrals. But eventually, this customer base will only be able to give you so many referrals unless you convert them into business builders. And some of them will choose to be a business builder, but some of you might be scarce and be like, yeah, but if I convert her to a business builder, then I lose her as a customer and I may not make as much money. Instead of like, wait, hold on. This is like one of my best, this person is a great lead generator. They're a natural referrer. They always take, great ownership over their hostess parties. They do a fantastic job. Like, they are a prime candidate for really sitting down with them and showing them the potential of this business, and for me to mentor them and take them under my wing and help them soar. Like, I have seen that with some people where they just are like, I don't want to like convert my best customer. It's like, well, sometimes your best customers become your best business builders. It's something that you need to explore. And then there's a third area of scarcity. It's the area of scarcity with your team members. When you are not actively bringing in fresh people, and you are not having new conversations with new potential business builders, and you're not bringing people in, you end up putting tremendous pressure. Like the people that maybe you brought into business like 3 years ago, some of them might be checked out. And if you're not talking to new people, you're going to keep asking the same 3 people. This is when I see people like dragging people to their goals and like forcing them, like, stay in this business. And they're spending all their time and energy talking the person into staying in their business and showing up, when they could be talking to people that desire to work and desire to really use this business model. And there are not nearly enough people out there who are working the Pampered Chef business. In fact, it's so fun. I just decided to Google, how big the wedding registry industry is, like the gift registry, and it is a $19 billion industry. Are you the first person that people think of when somebody gets married? Are you the first person that's like, you have to go talk to Christy. She will set up your entire kitchen registry for your wedding. Christy's amazing at this. You need to do this. Your grandma, your niece, your friend. Everyone's getting married. Like, housewarming. Are you the first person that people think of for a housewarming gift? If not, you need to figure out, how do I become that person? It's a $19 billion industry.
It's right here.
It was like, I think it was like 84% of that $19 billion is in kitchenware. Kitchenware.
Oh, goodness.
Like, listen, you have an amazing business. And trust me, Gen Z, the next generation, they're very interested in monetizing online. They live their life online. They live it publicly. They're like, here's what I'm doing. Here's my mom meal. Here's what's going on. And they probably don't know about Pampered Chef. I'm telling you, Gen Z, they need to know. And they don't know unless you're loud about it. They don't know unless you're talking to them. They don't know unless you're presenting the opportunity. They don't know unless you're seeing them be like, hey, I see that like you're sharing, like you're cooking your meals on your Instagram and you're sharing like your favorite stuff. Have you ever considering partnering with a direct sales company with this amazing company, Pampered Chef? It's a legacy company where you can be making amazing money doing what you already do. Like, if you're not having those conversations, here's what happens. You tend to put tremendous pressure on and making asks of the same people over and over and over again. And eventually, some of them might sign out because they're tired of like, I just feel like you're constantly making an ask of me. If you want to be abundant, if you want to lead well, you need to be somebody that's constantly bringing in fresh leads. Because when you have fresh leads, you suddenly become less needy, and desperate for other people to perform. You're like, that's fine. I'm going to develop other people. It should always be going on. Yes, you developing and encouraging here while you bringing in fresh blood to develop and encourage here. That is a sustainable strategy for an ongoing business that lasts for a long
Which is
time.
Fine, but I haven't given up. I'm pretty consistent.
Simply put, lack of recruitment is a lack of future growth. Everybody say it with me. Lack of recruitment, lack of future growth. If I do not recruit, it's all on you. It's going to be about you, however many parties you can host every single month. And I just want you to ask yourself, how I've been operating my business for the last 6 months, can I see myself operating my business in the same way for the next 5 years? And if you get that pit in your gut, if you get that little in your stomach and you feel a little sick about it, that is your indication it is time for you to grow. It is time for you to develop other leaders. It is time for you to pour into people. It is time for you to expand your network. If you want to know, like, Kristen, what's standing between me and getting to the next level, or increasing my paycheck, or getting my paycheck back to where it was back then, this is your answer. Ongoing recruitment. I'm going to give you the formula for this. You ready? In order to have sustainable income without burnout, it's relational networking. You networking with people through being relational, getting to know people. Now, some people freak out when they hear relational because they think, like, are you telling me I need to go out there and suddenly become business besties, or become besties with like 1,000 people, become all my friends? Like, people start to think like, oh, that's a lot of friendships I have to cultivate and I have to be their bestie. No. Relational in the sense where, like, people can feel like they know you through your content. Like, some of you are in my Social Selling Academy. Maybe you listen to my podcast. Maybe you follow me on Instagram. Yes. I'm not in the DMs with all of you chatting it up, but you feel like you know me because of how I present myself online, because I'm very consistent, because you understand how I show up. Like, you can be relational through your content, but at your current level, it does require you to be in conversations with people. And if that freaks you out, I'd be like, well, do you want to stay where you are? Like, which one freaks you out more? Staying where you are or talking to new people? And I really hope staying where you are, staying stuck, scares you too much, where you're like, nope, definitely don't want that. So I'm willing to do maybe another scary thing instead. Like, it's pick your scary of stuck or scary of trying something new and putting yourself out there. I choose scary new any day. I'm here because I was willing to do scary new all the time. I had this saying the other day where it was like, it's a word I'm going to call necessary. It's the necessary scary actions that you must take in order to build your business. What are necessary things you need to do? Talk to people. Be social on social media. So relational networking, you talking to people, getting to know people, expanding your network. Your network becomes your net worth. Your network becomes your net worth. And it's not always about, you turning every conversation into a sale. Nope. It is about you being somebody who is social, somebody who is approachable, somebody who people like connecting with online. There is so much value in simply you doing that. And by the way, you being social, like connecting and talking to people on social media, just about life and interests and what's that recipe? Oh, this is my favorite, freezer recipe. Just you dialoguing and chatting with people, you are actually rewarded for being social on social media. The whole goal on Instagram and Facebook is they want you to stay on the platform, because when you stay on the platform, you'll see ads. Like, that is how they generate revenue, is you staying on the platform. So social media, their goal is to keep you on the platform. So when you are on the platform and they see you engaging, talking across multiple platforms, talking with a lot of people, they actually reward you by boosting your visibility so people actually see more of your posts. A lot of people are like, why is nobody seeing my posts? I'm like, probably because you're not talking to enough people. Like, eventually you don't talk to people, the algorithm starts to shrink. I used to grow my business strictly on Facebook, and then I pivoted to Instagram, and I had an amazing VIP community, but I was really good at like networking all across these groups. And I'm going to give you some of those tools today. But when I made the shift over to primarily just ads and Instagram and my podcast, I was way less active on my Facebook. So now when I post something on Facebook, like very few people see it because I'm not active. Like Facebook would be like, well, why would we reward you? People, why would we boost your post? So like, again, relational networking, you being social on social is key to networking. Okay. And then there's ongoing recruitment. This is the key for sustainable income without burnout, because that way you are never out of leads. You always know where your next party's coming from, and parties are an amazing lead generator. You guys probably know that. Probably the majority of your business builders are someone who started as a host and converted into a builder. So you have to be thinking, okay, how am I going to be somebody who's never out of leads? What is the minimum threshold of parties I need to host in order to grow my network? And also, I want to invite you back into the hybrid model of parties. Some of you may have been rock stars at in-home events before the pandemic. And then everybody, so many businesses that were very hands-on, very in-person, in-home, everyone was forced to figure out how to show up on social media. Everyone was forced to be like, okay, we're going to have to figure this out. Maybe some of you did, being like, wow, this is like the first time doing a virtual party selling cookware, but all right, I'm willing to figure it out. And then I've noticed there's like a hesitation to go back into the in-person world. There's this hesitation, like, I don't know if I want to do in-person parties. And it's like, or some people are like, oh, thank God we're out of the pandemic. I'm done with social media and I'm only going to do in-person. You are now in the world of a hybrid business model where it is in-person and virtual. In-person is your warm network. It is people it is your local network. Unless you want to travel all over the country, and you can do that. If you want to do that, be like, hey, I'll travel to different places and host parties in different states. You do you. That's fantastic. But you're in person, that is your local network. Your social media is your global network. Literally, the leads are limitless. The sky is your limit. Like
just in the US.
It's infinite. Exactly. You can get in front of so many people because your local network is isolated. You can only get to so many homes in your neighborhood, right? So many hands that you can shake. Like, you want to talk about leveraging your presence and leveraging your personality and leveraging this business model. You got to learn to get on social media. I was telling the executives in Chicago, I was saying, don't tell yourself the story that, Instagram is intimidating to me. The 3 words, I don't know how. Like, I'm committed to figuring it out. I'm committed to looking like a fool. You guys, 2 years ago when I was like, all right, I'm going to do this real thing. We'll see how it goes. And like, I acted a fool. Like, there is, I think it's somewhere in my archives on Instagram, like there's a reel of me dancing and then tripping over my feet and then like eating it and like a ring light's falling. Like, everyone saw it. And I was like, great, at least I'm showing up. It was actually one of my most like beloved reels because people were like, you're a real person. This is amazing. She's tripping over a ring light. Did you see that? Are you committed to being messy? Are you committed to maybe looking a fool? Which scary do you want? The scary of staying exactly where you are, or the scary of maybe doing something completely different and stepping into the unknown? Which one? I really want you to be thinking about this global network and expanding your audience. So here's what I want to share with you. If you do not have sustainable practices in place, I drew a little Pictionary chart thing. Okay. This picture represents your time and your energy. This right here is a mesh strainer where you are so you're pouring your time and energy, and when you do not have something to capture people, you end up losing money. And I have this like here, this is your puddle of potential that you never captured because you don't have a network. I'm going to put like a big bowl here.
Fred,
because you don't have systems.
You're like a 2-year-old.
You don't have leadership training, like teaching people to do what you do. You don't have lead generation. That is the bowl. If you want to capture all the money, you have got to have systems, leadership, and lead generation. You must do that. You have to learn how to help other people. Leadership is just another term for like recruitment and teaching people to have your income. Like, imagine if you were to mentor 3 people to get where you are today, being like, okay, yeah, I'm going to cultivate and direct and grow and facilitate 3 new directors. You are building, like, I'm gonna call it the bowl of retention, where you're able to, like, literally capitalize on all the time and the energy and the effort that you have poured into it. It doesn't feel effortless and meaningless, but here it's like this puddle of lost potential. And then actually you end up having overflow and all those things. But here it's just like, when there is no bowl to capture that, you are in an infinite cycle of like more time, more effort, more energy. And that is 100% where burnout is born. It's like, oh, I'm just like, more parties. And like, you know, that terror in your gut when you're like, oh crap, I'm looking at next month and I don't have any parties. Shoot. I've asked everybody I know. I've tapped my network. I've emailed my people. I've sent out a text broadcast and nobody's buying right now. Like, that pit happens because you are not in ongoing conversations to grow and boost your network. Like, if you feel like I am like beating your head against the wall with like growing your network, great. It means it's going to be like deeply embedded in your brain, like maybe in the corner of your paper of like action is like, I'm going to commit daily to grow my network. I'm going to give you an example. I was coaching somebody in my academy recently, just yesterday actually. And she was telling me about her business and she's like, well, I really want to go from making X amount of dollars a month to X amount of dollars a month. I said, okay, walk me through. And I said, you have got to be engaging and growing your network. And she immediately went like this. Oh, I just don't know where I'm going to find the time. Like, who am I not working with? Like, what if I have to network for an hour a day? I'm like, oh, I was like, and what if you did? She's like, well, then I'd have no time in my day. And I was like, well, walk me through your other activities. And turns out she was so busy in the activities that maintained her paycheck. Customer follow-up, customer care, like, hey, how's that going, right? And so making a post on social media. And I even asked her, I said, how long is your post taking on social media? She's like, well, I spent about 45 minutes deciding what I was going to say. And then, like, I felt like I couldn't get it right and I didn't even post it. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's 45 minutes of your time where you actually did nothing to generate future income. You did nothing to actually grow your business. Like, I was like, oh crap, no wonder you're thinking that. I said, I want the first thing you do every day, the very first business task you do before you go into paycheck maintenance activities, you need to be in paycheck growth activities. And paycheck growth activities is you networking and talking to people, talking to new people. And if you have resistance to that, I want you to explore why. Remember, beliefs determine your behaviors. So I want you to ask yourself, what belief are you sitting with that's having you in the behavior is, I don't talk to new people. I don't figure out how to show up on social media. Oh, no. I don't start conversations. I sit here and I wait for people to magically find me. It's like, no, sorry, people can't find you unless you are visible, unless you are connecting. But what belief is driving the behavior of not networking, of not expanding your audience? I know a lot of people, for them, the primary belief is like, I don't want to bug people. I don't want to come across as spammy. I'm like, okay, first of all, you're in sales. Whether you like it or not, you are in sales. And we have to remove the stigma of you being in sales. Here's the thing. Sales is a part of life. You're always selling something. The question is, are you getting paid for it? Like, I'm selling my kids on, like, here's why you should eat your vegetable and not pizza every night. Like, it was literally my kids to be pizza and mac and cheese every day for the rest of their life. But my job is I am always selling my kids on why health and diversity in their diet is important. I don't get paid for that. Now, there are dividends with, like, my children are healthier, except for last night, in me selling. So it's like, listen, you are already a salesperson. You sell people on your favorite restaurant. You sell people on your favorite app. You sell them on your new favorite Netflix show. Like, you're selling them. The question is, are you getting paid to sell? So let's just remove the stigma of like, what if I talk to people and they think I'm going to sell them something? Okay, let them think that. Oh no, that you might sell them something. That's not the worst thing in the world. But surprise them with service first. Surprise them with like, hey, how can I serve you? Hey, how are you doing? Like, just being conversational, just being relational goes so far. So again, asking yourself, what belief is keeping me from growing my network? We're going to get into a little more tactical things, okay? I want to talk about activities that create longevity in your business, okay? Well, the first one is organic referrals. You probably already do this. Like when you host a party, you're probably going to ask the hostess at the end or your attendees, who do you know that would enjoy new cookware? Who do you know that would enjoy, a kitchen turnover? Like, let me give you an example. I recently had to turn over my kitchen because I didn't have enough people that loved me to throw me a Pampered Chef party when I was a newlywed. So there I was in Bed Bath & Beyond, like beep, 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 not even knowing what I was getting. And I was like getting really, I remember I threw out my frying pans like a year later because they were scorched and burned and it was terrible. I was like, this is crap, right? Like nobody was there to help me with that. So I was like, it was not a great experience, right? So this idea of like organic referrals is like, who do you know that needs new kitchenware? And for me, 2 years into my marriage, I was already having to replace like half my kitchen because I didn't buy great stuff. Pampered Chef is known for quality cookware. It's quality. Anytime I do mention Pampered Chef to people, I have always, people who know Pampered Chef, they're like, man, they've got great cookware. I love Pampered Chef. Like people who know about it, love it. And then there are people that don't know about it that will love it. And the only way they know about it is if you tell them about it, which means you have to get out there. You have to talk. So organic referrals, you have to make the ask. Don't assume, ask. Don't assume, well, if they really, liked the party and if they wanted to have cookware, they'll ask me. No. Don't assume. Make the ask and say, hey, if you had a great experience today, can you think of someone that I could help? Is there someone in your life that like has old and tired cookware that they need to resurface? Have you gone to a friend's house and like there's scorch marks on their fry pans? Or is there somebody that like you think would really love this? Don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to ask.
I like that.
The ask becomes a lot easier. So organic referrals. Hey, who do you know? Is this a great experience? How can I help this? And also incentivizing the referral. Like, hey, if you bring me somebody who books, I will give you, a free, like, look in the catalog at anything that's $50 or less. I'll gift you a free item. Wow, thanks. That means so much. Let me think about it. Okay? But they're only going to refer you somebody if you have given them an exceptional experience as a customer. Like going one above. A mediocre experience,
3 times. People
you're probably not going to get a great referral. I was thinking of when I went to a party. I was a direct sales model, and it was not for cookware, but it was down the street, hosted by my neighbor, and it was so fun. And I would have said I may not have identified as a party person, like, ooh, that sounds fun. I'll go to your party. But I went. And I think I ended up throwing down like $300 on and buying it for Christmas and buying it as gifts. And it was such a fun experience. Like how the hostess made me feel, the care and the thought she went into, like the displays, the food, how educational she was. Where at the end I was like, ooh, I totally want to host one. And I've got a bunch of friends that would totally love this. Because it was an exceptional experience as a consumer, and like same for virtual. If it's an amazing experience, we're like, man, that felt like a party. I loved that. And thank you for those meal ideas. That was awesome. Okay, I have like 10 friends. We're always complaining about we never have ideas for dinner. Can you do this again? Can you put it on for me? Can you do like a meal prep party and then show your favorite meal prep tools? Like, you guys, the opportunities are limitless, but when you provide an exceptional experience for the customer, oftentimes they will volunteer, ooh, me, I want to do this. But the ask becomes a lot easier because you can lead with, hey, I hope you found this experience really valuable and that I really delivered well to you and that you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this experience, would you want to host this? Like, you can ask your participants, would you want to host this? Given that it was a great experience, ask for feedback and say, hey, what are some things you would have liked to see? What would have made your experience better? I think of this idea of the exceptional customer experience just to give you a tangible example, if you've ever stayed at a DoubleTree, like, you know what DoubleTree is known for. Their ooey gooey warm chocolate chip cookie that you get at check-in. Like, you check in and they pull this hot, delicious cookie out of the oven. And they're like, here you go. Thanks so much for choosing DoubleTree. I want you to think of, like, what is the hot, delicious cookie I can offer to my experiences where it feels like I'm going above and beyond, where it's not just another online party. It's just not another in-person, in-home person party. This is where you're taking ownership as a business owner and being like, if I want quality results, I have to provide a quality experience. And I want to provide a quality experience because that matters to me. Beliefs drive behaviors. And if you think nobody likes parties, why would you put together a quality party? You won't, because you'll think it's a waste of your time. Be like, why waste my time putting the effort and the energy if nobody wants a party? Again, the beliefs drive the behaviors, and the behaviors create the results. Maybe you're in a season of a party revamp, and your company has an amazing tool. Like, there's the tool your company has, and you can also innovate and be like, okay, here's how I'm gonna, like, really create an exceptional experience that grows my network. And listen, even if people aren't like, oh, I want to host a party, you now have a connection. Like, you should be getting contacts, the emails from every participant at the party with permission from the host. Like, hey, with your permission, and with permission of participants, with your permission, I'd love to email you all or send you all, like, a complimentary, meal plan, 5 simple ways to save 30 minutes to only cook for 30 minutes a day. Something where they're like, I want you to always think, what can I give? If I'm going to make an ask, what kind of deposit do I need to make in order to justify the ask? And so if you want someone's email, the give needs to be good. The give's got to be good. In the sense of, like, okay, everyone in this party is going to want to give me their email address because of this amazing, like, quick little meal PDF or this little thing I have. Now you're growing your email list. Now you're growing your marketing list. And if you're friending them on Facebook or you have their contacts, notice that, like, I want you to remove yourself from the idea of, like, immediate turnaround, immediate instant gratification. That's not always the case. You're often planting seeds. And so sometimes you're going to have an immediate, like, cash turnaround for a party. And sometimes it's about the network growth that is a future return on your investment of your time and your energy. There's immediate return on investment, and then there's future return on your investment. But everybody expects, like, their efforts and energy to pay off now and pay off today. This is when people get all up in their head and they quit and they justify and say, maybe it's not for me. It's like, no, you have to learn to be gritty and patient and persistent. When nothing is happening, trusting that all of the value you are putting out in the world is not wasted. I love to think of the concept of, like, a value bank. Like, everything I do in the world goes into this big value vault that's just stored energy. And I know if that vault is full to the brim with so much value I give, I have an infinite supply where I can always make an ask and always feel safe doing so because of how much value I put out in the world. If you want to make a withdrawal, you better be somebody that's really good at putting in deposits with people. And deposits can be like, hey, how are you doing? How can I serve you today? Deposits could be, shouting out someone else's content who's not, like, think about people who aren't building businesses, but they're generating content in hopes of maybe having an affiliate link and just shouting them out saying, like, hey, go follow this account. I love what they're doing. Like, that's a deposit with that person. Telling someone, like, hey, I see you. You're doing a great job. That's a deposit. Sending out an email saying, I hope you're having a fabulous Monday. Here's 3 things you could do today to enjoy your time in the kitchen. That's a deposit. Deposit, 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 deposit. Into this vault that you eventually, when you become someone who is generous with your deposits, you will never be out of leads, and you will always be able to ask for the sale because you are someone who provides value.
Like that email that I sent you.
So I wrote this down. Exceptional customer experiences is set with intention, with gratitude, and with joy. And the last activity for longevity is network growth. You being social on social. Let's, like, talk about that a little bit. Social on social. You might be like, okay, I see it, Kristen. You've beat it into my head that I need to get on social media because, like, I can get in front of, like, millions of eyeballs and You know, the leads are limitless. Like, I'm on board, but I'm also lost.
I don't either.
And that's okay. I understand that, and I can empathize with that, but you're not going to have an excuse after this, okay? You being social on social, some people think like, okay, so am I just going to like go to my followers list and just like start messaging people? Do I send them like an awkward hi? Do I send them a pitch? Do I tell them I'm with Pampered Chef right away? Do I make an ask now? Okay, first, when it comes to social media, you have to, if you want to be a real human and be kind, I have be yourself. In order for you to engage in conversations, I want you to think of like what conversations are easy for me to engage in. What do you like talking about naturally? Like if you aren't talking about Pampered Chef, what do you like talking about? One of the executives, the leaders that I met in Chicago, she was wearing her Disney ears and her team culture is like Disney. And I thought it was super fun. And I'm like, oh, she loves Disney. Like, of course, shared interest would be like Disney travel groups, moms who love Disney, Disney decor. Like, it's perfect. She can go in there and say, I have a shared interest with this group that is outside of cookware. And because I have this shared interest, I am creating trust. It's easier to give someone trust online, especially a stranger, when there is commonality. When someone's like, oh, you're like me. We kind of like the same things. So find shared interests. This could be, you could search hashtags, you know, and if you're like, I also would encourage you, shared interests outside of Pampered Chef and then shared interests that align with Pampered Chef. So like, you know, meal plan, hashtag meal prep. Like, I want you to think of like, what are, like somebody who is actively talking about cooking online, or they're showing up and they would be a good fit for this business. What hashtags are they using? And then you're going to want to go and find people. Follow them. Follow people. Now, don't go on a following blitz. I'm going to give you a couple like very succinct strategies to do that. So shared interest, finding like this could also be niched groups on Facebook. So let's say you are a master quilter. You love quilting. I hope you're in quilting groups where you're talking to people and you are sharing like your latest pattern, your latest win, or whatever it is. Making friends in there so that they friend you on Facebook and they see you talking about Pampered Chef, where you can like talk about these things and like enter side conversations. Like, oh my gosh, you're always commenting on my stuff. I wanted to show you this latest project I'm up to because I knew you'd be excited about it for me. Be yourself. You don't have to be anybody else. Just be you. Don't look side to side and be like, well, maybe I need to wear Mickey ears. No, that's her. Or maybe I need to talk about that. No, that's them.
I post a lot
You
about
don't have to
Fred.
be them. You need to be
I love dogs
you.
and rescues and
You
pigs.
need to be intentional
So
and
there's
thoughtful.
that,
Go on
right?
social media with a plan.
I still love knitting.
If you go
I
without a
haven't
plan,
knitted
you
a
will
lot
be
'cause
lost in the scroll hole.
This hurts a
Like,
lot.
just
my
looking at
cute
reels,
motion.
and then the
I
next
was
thing you
making
know,
socks
2
and
hours has gone by, and you're like,
sweaters
I've done nothing to grow my business
and
today.
I
I just got
have to
lost
finish
in the
a tunic
reels.
for my
Ooh,
friend
or like,
because
I know
I
people
haven't
get
done
lost
it.
in scrolling to collect ideas, but they've put no time limit on it, and they've made that like their income producing activity. No.
No.
Scrolling to collect ideas is done at the end of your workday and with a timer. But that is not
But she goes,
during
no.
your work hours, because it's not actually income producing activity for you to just do real research. I'm calling you out. You also need to be visible. Show your face.
No.
Show your face.
Yes.
Get up there. Say hi. How's it
Show
going?
your
Listen,
face.
on my Instagram today, I showed my
And I
face
do my
in my
VIP
stories.
group.
I showed like
I very rarely
bed
get on
hair,
my,
bags under my eyes. I
my
was like, hey,
regular.
so I'm on 2 hours of sleep. It's
Like
puke town at my house. You know, here
You're more
I'm
likely
just
to do it
barely
on
getting
your
by type of thing. And like for my audience, they're like, oh, Kristen, she's just like
Well,
us.
that's
She
ideal.
gets sick
I
kids.
need to
She
do
has
that.
to push through too.
Kristen
There's
loves the
value in
dishes.
showing your face.
At any given time, there's
Show
days
your
where the
face,
dishes pile
okay?
up across my counter.
They want to know the person behind the platform.
I refuse to do them.
When
Chris is
you're
my
doing this, with you
dishwasher.
being social on social, you have to
Tristan's
understand
mine.
that consistency is not an overnight game. So many of you had the term like consistency, like the word consistency for the year, but you have to understand consistency is not a game of quick fix. It's not a quick turnaround. There's nothing fast about consistency. Consistency is the game about your compounding returns on your efforts. that with time it compounds
It's really
over
bad
time.
to be
You may
like
not
them,
see much in the beginning,
everyone
but
will
if
be
you
sharing
stay
their comments.
consistent, it is about your returns later. It is your returns down the
I'm glad
road.
these are not live.
Repeat after me. Today's activity is the money I generate 60 to 90 days from now. Hear me.
I
The
am not
the
the person
activity
you
you
wanna be
do
sitting
today
by in a
will
serious
reflect in
event.
your paycheck 60 to 90 days from now. So
Reminding
you
me
being
that
like,
we
well, I
never
made a
need to
post
sit
today. Why is there no sales? I'm like,
together.
hold up. How consistent have you been? And if by the way, if you're only posting about cookware and nobody's getting to know you, they're feeling like they're engaging with a catalog and not a person. Show your face. Be you. Be you. I'm going to give you a chart to help your mindset as you set out for actions, because I'm going to give you a plan of action at the end of this. This is from the book Atomic Habits, and I love it. I always use it because it is 100% true. I've seen it in my business. I've seen it with my students that complete our 90-day Goal Getter Challenge inside the Academy. And this is how we tend to think our results will go. We think it's very linear. This is, the money we make, woohoo, money, and this is the time we put in, okay? And we tend to think, yes, I'm gonna my efforts are just gonna shoo. Often, this is what it actually looks like. Look at that. From here to roughly here, the progress feels pretty small. Look at that. It feels kind of minute. And even right here, look right here, it's almost like nothing's happening. And this is when I see people being like, it's not working, I should quit. And then this is what I see them do. They start, and then they stop, and then they start, and then they stop, and they wonder why they never burst past their plateau. Is because they never get to the point of compounding returns. And compounding returns roughly takes 90 days on social media. You have to understand this. 90 days of you showing up, feeling like nothing's happening. And this right here, this is where you thought you would be, and this is where you actually are. This gap is called the Valley of Disappointment.
Knitting, but I just...
You feel disappointed? I would say, good, it's normal, keep going. But this is when people give up. This is when they say, it's not working. This is when they try other things. This is when they hide in the hide under a blanket and watch Netflix with a bowl of ice cream and say, no, woe was me, I wasn't meant for business. That's not true.
I will never have Netflix.
But look at everything that happens in
it's a good
this
thing I have
window.
Prime. I don't have to feel guilty.
If we're going to talk about the bamboo tree, look. We explode because we're compounding here. This is called the graph of latent potential. I want you to get in the mindset of understanding that your consistency is latent potential to your future income. For me, it's so interesting as I have grown even in my business, and as I've gotten around people that generate literally hundreds of millions of dollars in business, some of the brightest minds I've ever been around. No one's thinking of the results they're getting this year. Almost everybody is like, yeah, I'm doing all these efforts to get here 5 years from now. Nobody in the room at that level is playing the game of instant gratification. Nobody in there is a dopamine addict being like, yeah, but I need results and I need them right now. You have to understand that this is the reality.
Betsy Fundus.
And if you want to be consistent, you have to move through the disappointment and say, yep, it's normal to feel disappointment, and I keep going, and I get gritty, and I go.
And it's she's always looking for the
Here's
words.
your plan of action. You ready?
To say, give me the words to say. What
want
are you
you
using? What are the words you're using to say that?
You can
I send
screenshot this, write it down. All that 20 new conversations a week.
She kind of
that doesn't have to be sales conversations. Just hi, how's it going? What's going on? 4 to 5, that means 4 to 5 people a day. You're just talking, saying hi, talking to somebody new. Follow 20 to 30 mirror accounts. 20 to 30 mirror accounts, people that have the same interests as you, that are generating content, that roughly have a similar following as you, but you want to make sure they're public and visible. Someone with a private account tells me that they're not ready to put themselves out there and network. Okay, public accounts.
It got to the place where,
join a niche-focused Facebook group. If you're in knitting, join a knitting group. If you're in a meal prep phase and you're an athlete, join that.
She's very special and all
make
that.
offers daily. Try this. Join my party. Opt in for this email list. Would you like to host? Get in the habit of being
Tristan
somebody
used
who's
to be in a lot of
regularly
my videos 'cause he
talking
loved
about their business and this
being
amazing
there.
Yeah, absolutely,
potential. This is the
absolutely.
secret of
I was
longevity.
watching the video.
This
I
is your
use
plan
it
of
a
action,
lot.
and you're gonna have
Making
thoughts about
the
it.
three
Let yourself have
ingredient
thoughts,
pumpkin
but
spice
say,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah.
have drama
Being
and I'm gonna do
sassy
it.
little
Not a problem.
throwing
3
things,
steps to
and you could
success.
see my
You following this
irritation
Empower
with him
event,
in
taking the
video.
action. I want you
Yeah.
to decide, I'm doing this. Being somebody who
Yeah.
decides, make a
Because you wanna
decision
throw things,
right
I'll
now.
do
You
this
write it in that
myself.
corner where I said, what are you gonna do? Make
Well,
that
I've
decision.
been sharing this.
Commit.
at events and-
Commit means, okay,
But then
this
I
is
decided,
the
you know what,
plan,
it's real life
and I'm
now.
all in.
It is
No
real
matter
life.
what,
It is
no
real
matter
life.
what
It
happens,
is real
I
life.
go. I'm gonna be in those conversations. I'm going to recruit. I'm gonna talk about this
So I guess
business.
that was kind of harsh.
And then
of
I
Claudia.
decide to
Like I
get
said, she wants to put
gritty,
her bratty
meaning,
daughter on.
yep,
She
it's
can't.
gonna
I just
get
don't
hard.
watch her.
Yep,
You know.
I might have puke
You
town
know,
in my house someday, and I'm still gonna
this
show up the
year.
next day.
I don't mind
As
if someone's
thousands
helping
of
you make
people were
something,
waiting
but
for
she
me
has her
online.
daughter do trainings and stuff.
Imagine having that mindset, being like,
You know
I'm
what
gonna
I
show up
mean?
today because thousands of
See,
people
I've
are
not
waiting for
seen
me to
them
just
in a
talk about this amazing
This
thing.
cake I made for this little
This
girl
is it.
a few
Decide,
years
commit,
ago
have
when
grit.
she turned 5.
This is the process.
She's turning 13.
The Pampered Chef.
And her mom
I
reached out
know
and
that
she
you are
said,
so capable
"Blair
of
has
doing this. You are
requested that
so
this
capable of
camera
taking
make
your
her
business to the
13th
next
birthday
level
cake
and having
because
longevity
she's
and
still
sustainability.
It's made an impact.
And I know if you just decide and make a decision and go all in,
I was like,
you're going to see extraordinary results in your business this year. Thank you so
That
much.
was pretty good.
It's been such a
Pretty
joy.
good cake.
Very good. See, Greg keeps talking about
Thank you so much, Kristen. Wait till you